Hello, DeMatha Nation. Welcome to our 75th anniversary DeMatha Speaker Series. My name is Ben Fleri, class of 2011, and current staff member here at DeMatha. Over the past few months, we've interviewed several notable stags to not only showcase the various successes from the school, but also to keep the DeMatha community engaged throughout the pandemic. I'm joined today by legendary former soccer head coach here at DeMatha and current director of football at Swansea University in Wales, Coach Daffyd Evans, who will be helping me conduct this interview with my former teammate and current DC United defender, Chris Odoi-Atsem. During his 15 years at the helm here at DeMatha, Coach Daff holds a remarkable record of 224 wins, 18 losses, and 20 ties, including a national championship in 2011 and 7 varsity conference titles. In our interview, Chris Odoi-Atsem graduated from DeMatha in 2013, where he played under Coach Daff. He won 2 conference titles, with one obviously being a national championship in 2011. Chris went on to a great career at the University of Maryland, making 86 appearances for the Terps. As a freshman, he finished the season making 25 appearances, 20 of those being starts, which is almost unheard of as a freshman at Maryland. And as a sophomore, he earned first team All Big Ten conference honors, as well as second team All Big Ten conference honors in his junior year. In his final season, the Terps spent most of the season ranked #1 in the country, and Chris earned first team All Big Ten honors, as well as an NSCAA first team All Midwest region, while he led the Terps to a 3rd straight Big Ten tournament championship. Chris was considered one of the top prospects going into the 2017 MLS Super Draft, and he was selected 12th overall by DC United. In 2017, or September of 2018, Chris was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, thus ending his 2018 season with DC. He began chemotherapy regimen at Georgetown University Hospital and was able to complete his cancer treatment in January 2019. He returned to the field after his battle with cancer on May 11th with Loudoun United, and later made his DC United return a few weeks later on May 29th, and got his first goal actually in October of 2020 versus FC Cincinnati. And then this past year, in January 2021, Chris re-signed to DC with a 2-year contract and a 3rd-year option in 2023. So with that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce our special guest, Chris Odoi-Atsem. Chris, first of all, thank you for joining us today, man. It's a pleasure. And just on behalf of DeMatha, I just want to say how proud we are of you and what an inspiration you've been to so many across the area and the country. Being able to kick cancer's butt and returning to the field, picking up where you left off it's a true testament to your perseverance and your character. So just want to say congratulations on that, and thank you for joining us, Chris. My first question kind of to you, so you kind of touched upon it a little bit earlier, but just kind of want to see how you've been doing personally and kind of how the team and you have been able to adjust, to a season during a global pandemic. I don't know if you can kind of take us through that, what workouts look like, kind of what the season's going to be like.
Yeah, so last year when, everything went on pause with the pandemic, we had just started the season. We were 2 games into our season. And once we saw the NBA stop their things, we knew we were coming next. So put everything on pause. We thought it would be like 2 weeks or so, as most people did, but, ended up being a long time. So it was just difficult, trying to stay in shape. Guys were sneaking on fields, trying to get some touches and stay fit. So that was a little difficult, hopping fences and all that. We also had to deal with the league kind of threatening a lockout to lock us out because of the financial losses they were having. So that was kind of hard as well, not knowing if we were going to be paid during the pandemic and everything. Eventually those things got resolved. So that was good as well. We eventually in June, we made our way to Orlando, Florida for the little bubble tournament that we had. Spent 4 weeks there, that was good. And then came back into our own cities and then, finished out the rest of the season. I think we had an 18-game regular season in our home markets that we had to deal with. So, as everyone dealt with difficult times the past year or so, we did as well. But, things are looking better, hopefully. And we're still having to deal with some things this year coming up. But our season starts next week. Preseason starts. So we're just getting ready for that now.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you. Coach Daff, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Great, Doc. How are you?
Good. For everyone listening, it's just brilliant to see names and faces of everyone here. And I was fortunate to get a long chat with Chris actually a few weeks ago, as it happens, about football and what have you. So it's just brilliant to have more for reflection tonight, or tonight for me here in Wales, but midday with you guys in Maryland. So just really glad everyone's got together in these times. I think we all appreciate connections more than ever. So yeah, a couple of questions for me. It's interesting. Someone's asked me before about Chris and the talent he had as a young player, which we saw immediately at DeMatha, all the coaching staff that's on this chat, and Chris being an incredibly humble young man. I just wanted to ask this particular question: if we could see it and knew the potential was there, being a humble person as you are, Chris, when did you see it, and when did you actually realize, or the penny dropped, if you want to put it that way, that you could potentially be a professional, football player, stroke soccer?
Yeah, I mean, always growing up, that's the dream, is to make it as professional. Me personally, I always kind of doubted myself a little bit about making it that far. I was always one of the more talented players in the area, but to make it to a professional level, that's a big jump. So I'd always worked towards that goal, but didn't know I would always get there. When I got to Maryland, I remember, I think it might have been a meeting with you. It was myself, you, and our Maryland coach, Sasha. He asked me if I wanted to be a professional player, and I said, I'm not sure. And he's like, "Oh man, that might be a problem because everyone who comes in this program wants to be a professional." And he was like, "Yeah, you have the talent to make it as well if you depend on how you do here." And that's what really gravitated me towards going to Maryland, is because I wanted to be in the best environment possible to push me to that next level. So that's why I kind of chose Maryland. My first 2 years, I was a starter, but I played center back at Maryland for 2 years. And for those who don't know, I don't have the physical build as a true center back. Most center backs are big 6-foot guys, pretty strong guys. Like I see Shane Denman in here, about his size. So, I played my first 2 years. I did well, but I knew I couldn't play at the professional level as a center back. Then my coach, Sash, made the change going to my junior year to put me as a right back. And I did pretty well my junior year, and it looked like a real possibility of me going pro. And I took a big step my senior year. And, that's when I really knew that, I had the chance of going pro. So after my senior year, I went through the draft process and got drafted in the first round. So I would really say probably like my junior years when I really knew that I had the chance of making it. And so it was pretty late compared to most other guys, I feel like.
Yep. Just quickly listening to you there, I think your humility, Chris, probably helped you progress. Do you know what I mean? Through those stages, I think some athletes, look ahead and then they expect, and they kind of work slightly, less almost towards their goal. But being as humble as you were and grounded, I think that goes to show a lot from your family that I know very well as well. I think that helped you take each step as it came and gave you the hunger, which was always evident. So that's interesting. And then the next kind of question for me, I think so much talent comes from DeMatha, wonderful teachers, administrators we have at DeMatha, and we have incredible people that succeed in all levels of life, and music and academics, sport, etc. And all of us, wherever we end up in our careers, there's always huge obstacles. There's always massive problems. We're always tested with our resilience and whatever. And if you look at athletics, potentially, there'll be so many examples where people have, had been really tested, Chris, in as far as their athletics. It could be the health or injury or whatever it might be. But for you to be drafted in 2017 and for the cards that you were dealt then a year later, being kind of diagnosed stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, that is something that, that would test so many people in so many different ways. But that was just another thing that really kind of pushed you and tested your determination, your resilience, not just to beat the cancer, but obviously then to get back at that level, back on the grass a year later. So I think what would be cool for everyone on this Zoom would be to try and get into your head a little bit during that year. What was it like when you first found out you were diagnosed, for example, and how did you mentally deal with that, to be resilient, to come back in a year? How did it feel, and how did you make it work?
Oh, for sure. For me, I was dealing with the problems of cancer way before I was diagnosed. So I was diagnosed September of 2018, but I was probably feeling the effects all the way around February of 2018 that year. So I was dealing with it for most of the season, pretty much all of the season, just didn't know.
With fatigue,
Yeah,
Chris?
with fatigue, I wasn't playing at the best of my ability. I was getting, very tired when playing and stuff like that. I just thought I was out of shape. I had an off-season injury, so I thought I was just working my way back from that. But that whole year I could never get right for some reason and didn't know why. Eventually got to a point in around August or so when I told the team, I was like, I can't even train anymore. This is too much. I'm dealing with too much. I'm too tired. I can't really breathe out there on the field. Can we really figure out what's going on with me? And so they ran me through a whole bunch of tests and everything came up normal, which was hard for me because, we went through a wide range of tests. So that was hard. A lot of people were doubting me, doubting if I was built for this or anything like that. So, that was tough. And then eventually, they found the cancer, the mass and tumor in my chest, and diagnosed me with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And for me, it was more of, okay, finally I figured out what's been bothering me for so long. And, there's a treatment plan in place for me to get healthy and get back on the field. So it was more of a relief for me than, really being sad or down about it. It was, I was kind of, in a way, it's weird to say, but happy that I found out what was going on with me. And, so that was my initial feeling after I got diagnosed. And in terms of working my way back onto the field, that was always the goal for me, always priority for me. I knew I could do it. And the thing for me, when I first got diagnosed, I watched a whole bunch of, videos and interviews of guys like James Conner and Eric Berry. They're in the NFL, but they had the same disease I did at some point in their life and were able to beat the cancer and make it back on their field. So, watching their stories and hearing how they talked about it, that was big for me, and knowing that I could do the same. And I also knew the way I went about it, that, maybe if I got back on the field, that there'd be someone coming after me, going through a difficult time or a sickness or an injury, and looking at my story as inspiration. And so I knew the way I handled it and me getting back on the field, I could have an impact on someone else's in their life. So that was always big for me. That was always a big motivation for me to get back on the field. And, whenever someone comes to me and tells me how much impact my story has had on them, that really just means the world to me. So that was my big motivation.
Did you lean, it might have been accidental, Chris, but all the attributes you showed as a student athlete, right, to study and to train physically towards being a professional athlete, did those traits, almost those habits, help you towards the fight? Perhaps you didn't even know it at the time, but looking back now, did being pushed as a student athlete from your DeMatha days all the way to Maryland, were you almost institutionalized to be a fighter, to be disciplined, to be determined, to be a goal setter? Did those things actually help you beat cancer?
For sure. Just the way I was growing up and how it developed in, tough environments like DeMatha, where you're pushed academically as well as athletically, and you have to do all the things you can to make it through and to improve and to get to where you want to be. So all those qualities I've learned, growing up, and also learned and improved on in DeMatha definitely pushed me towards my battle with cancer. And in terms of having a goal where you want to get and doing whatever it takes to get through it. So definitely my sports background and, where I went to school had a big impact on my journey.
Incredible.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. Thank you, Chris. So kind of have one more question, then I'll start opening it up to the audience. So if you guys have any questions, just write in the chat bar, and we'll get to you. Hopefully, get to everyone. But Chris, just kind of want to just take you back to your DeMatha days. If you could just maybe talk about your experiences both on and off the field at DeMatha. Obviously, playing for someone like Coach Daff, ultimately winning a national championship here in 2011. Would like to just hear about your time and your experiences at DeMatha on and off the field, while you were at DeMatha.
Definitely. I had a great time at DeMatha. Great 4 years there. Everything, athletically, academically, socially, it was just perfect for me. I believe as most people in here know, you kind of go into DeMatha as a kid, and through those 4 years, you develop and leave as a man. And you pick up on a lot of things from a lot of people. As you said, I learned a lot from coaches in here, Daff, Daryl, Tommy, OC, a lot of teachers along the way. And, you learn a lot from teammates and the older guys, a lot of you guys in here, especially from that 2010 team that we had. I love DeMatha. I think it prepared me for life, for college. I didn't really notice it at the time while I was there, but noticed it more as I left. When I got to Maryland, I could see the difference of my education background compared to some of my teammates. I felt like I was kind of more prepared for college and the time management and the rigors of being that athlete, as well as, trying to get your degree. And, I think I kind of flourished at Maryland, both on and off the field, because of my DeMatha background. So, I loved every minute of DeMatha. I owe a lot to DeMatha. Still today, some of my best friends are people who I went to DeMatha with, teammates I played with, and, keeping in contact with a lot of the coaches and some teachers during my time there. So, I owe DeMatha a lot.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, I tell everyone this too. I was talking to Coach Daff about it earlier. Just, those experiences kind of stick with you forever. It's weird. Like, I remember some stuff from college, playing college soccer, but the majority of my stuff that I can remember, like, very well is everything from high school. Everything was so positive, and it was just great. And obviously playing with guys like you, Chris, Ja'Cory, Cody Albright. I mean, I go down the list, man. I mean, it was ridiculous, the amount of players. Brian Alvarez, obviously on here as well. Danny Sheeran. I mean, we're very lucky, and we're very fortunate to have those experiences. So kind of would like to open it up to the audience. I know I was talking to OC, so OC, I'm going to pick on you. If you could just kind of, I know you had maybe a story or two about Chris that we were chatting about earlier. I don't know if it's fact or if it's fiction, but for those of you that don't know the story, OC, do you want to elaborate a bit on it?
Tommy and Duff were there, and I see Tommy already laughing. So I think Chris knows exactly what I'm going to talk about. True story, guys. I did beat Chris Odoi-Atsem in a small little race. So I have that to hang my hat on. I will always be able to say that I was faster than Chris. That day I stopped racing anybody. So Chris can confirm this, right?
Something like that.
So
the truth was it was over 5 yards, and it was towards the hot dog van.
Yeah, you can't beat me. You can't beat me towards the hot dog van. Chris, the one question I wanted to ask you was, at all your 4 years of playing, at DeMatha, and that's kind of what I want to ask about is, what was if you could pick one highlight from your 4 years of playing at DeMatha, what would that be?
Oh, man. It's hard to pick one. We had a lot of success during my time. I think one game that really stood out to me was when we went to St. Louis and we played Sacramento Jesuit.
Jesuit. Mhm.
Yeah, and my junior year, you know, we were considered the two top teams in the nation, and we met in one place to play each other. It was a great game. We went into penalty kicks and won in penalty kicks that game, but you know that was just a big game. They had great players. You know, we had a good team, obviously, and just going out there and winning that game. I think it was on ESPN. It broadcasted on ESPN on their website, and winning that game was pretty big, and that was a great memory. I remember that pretty well.
Thanks, OC. Chris, before I get to someone, I just wanted kind of curious. So I know you've been involved in you know, social justice initiatives over the past few months, as well along with Bill Hamid. Just wanted to see if you could maybe expound on these initiatives and perhaps why it's such an important topic for you to be involved in.
Yeah, for sure. A big reason why is definitely from DeMatha. You know, going there, as most people know, we had the mandatory community hours, service hours that you have to get in during your time there. And, you know, you learn a lot doing that. I know for me, back when I was in high school, I used to do the Madu Williams Foundation. Madu Williams is a former NFL player. He had his own foundation at a local elementary school where me and a couple guys would go and volunteer after school and, you know, with the kids in their after school activities, help them with their homework, play with them and things like that. And, you know, I got a lot of things out of that. I had a lot of great memories from doing that for a couple of years with some friends. And, you know, I think that continued on into my professional career. I always take pride in doing things in the community. And, you know, I think that all stemmed from DeMatha, for sure. In terms of this year, how everything went down, I think I had to take a time to self-reflect. And even though I was doing things in the community, especially with you know, pediatric cancer patients, because of my background, I didn't feel like I was doing enough for, you know, my community, for my brothers and sisters of the Black community in my hometown. You know, I'm a professional soccer player on the hometown team where I'm born and raised, and I didn't think I was doing enough. So I had to sit with that for a while and think of ways I could really help and be a real impact in that side of the community as well. So, you know, we started the Black Players for Change in the MLS organization, where a whole bunch of MLS players came together and to try to fix things and do social injustice initiatives in our own team communities and also within the league. So that was big as well. And then also coming with the club DC United and thinking of ways that we can really impact the community, especially, you know, mine, Prince George's County. So, you know, me and Bill are big on that. You know, Bill and I went to 2 protests together. You know, Bill's like an older brother to me, someone who he probably got the same background in the community because of his time at DeMatha. So we take a lot of pride in that. I think now with DC United, working with them as a big club organization, you know, we can set things up to reach a lot of people in this area for time to come, especially when things open back up and we can do more hands-on things. So definitely looking forward to more things.
That's fantastic, Chris. Thank you, man. I think we're going to tee it up for legendary coach Tommy Park. Tommy Park, if you want to unmute your mic and ask Chris a question. I like the throwback pullover as well.
Yeah, I had to get it out of the closet. Wore this for many of cup lifts with all of you who are on the call. Great to see so many faces, especially during this time. You know, actually just checked in with Daff a couple of days ago, and we were reflecting on not just, you know, the on-field success of all of the DeMatha performances and players, but just mostly remembering all of the relationships and social connections that were built and the amount of time that we all spent together off the field, you know, developing each other. through experiences and conversations and difficult conversations. So I do want to give Chris a huge shout out for the social justice work you're doing. And I think, I've been fortunate to kind of see Chris in action as he joined some of the Alexandria Youth Club players just a few weeks ago in sharing his message of both his battle with cancer, but also the importance of Chris's leadership, in the Black community and setting the kind of the bar, right, for DeMatha students of the future and youth in our area. So I really respect what you're doing, Chris, and I want to thank you for that energy and effort you're putting around that. And Ja'Cory and Bill have been great leaders, other DeMatha alum as well. So kudos there. Also want to kind of just ask Chris, and I'm gonna fire a link here I found. I think Shane Denman is the first crossbar challenge participant in the video I'm about to share. But Chris, what was your favorite memory off the field? And please remember, we're on a recording, a Zoom here that will be published. But from whitewater rafting to the preseason and postseason, kind of bonding we had, giving you a moment here to just reflect. Obviously, the Wolf made a few appearances out at the Oasis. Anyways, it's just great to see everybody on here from all the coaches, and obviously a big shout out to Daff for the connection that kind of continues here, and how many of us are still involved in the game is a big reflection of what you've kind of set in terms of DeMatha soccer legacy. Chris.
Yeah, bringing back a lot of great memories. I think, the times where we spent at your parents' place, just all the times we had there, sleeping there, doing different things. Those are all great memories that I always have with some really good friends, that we spent that time together. So I always appreciate those things, where we could do things outside of the field together. Credit to you guys for the real team bonding stuff. And that really went a long way in how it translated onto the field. So I think it's a real credit to you guys for setting those things together. And I think that's what set our program apart from some of the other ones and led to our success.
Coach Daff, now I remember that game we were playing, the cheeky. I think, was it Shane Denman? It was Shane Denman who was who we got. Is that right?
I'm if it's recording, I'm denying absolutely everything. But no, it's Tommy mentions it, and that was even young in my coaching career, and I do so much study now, and with my UEFA Pro license, and I'm working with some of the and learning from some of the best coaches in the world. But my philosophy probably hasn't changed from what we did with Chris and all the young men on this call, where my core principle still is about people. And, there's no success unless there's a great marriage between people, staff, players, what have you. And, I've no doubt all those weekends, all those times we spent were arguably more productive at times than extended hours on the grass training. When you get that kind of bond and that kind of fun and respect between people of all different backgrounds, and then I think that was a vital ingredient in us being consecutively successful every single year. And us as staff, I know we had an absolute blast doing it, and it's vitally important. And I still, till today, I don't think you could put a price on all those things. And I still think there's mythical stories still out there, Ben, about that wolf in the forest. I don't think it was ever found. But I think that could come back to one gentleman on this Zoom again.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Like to go to Brian Alvarez, class of 2010. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to ask a question after Tommy. You know, he goes on for 5 minutes trying to ask a question, and it's a little bit easier.
What's up?
I think one of the closing ceremonies, I think we caught him at like 112 ums. So, a little throwback. So one of the questions I want to throw out there, because obviously, there was a high level of success, before my year, obviously throughout. And, I can't help to notice that there was only a couple people that made it all the way. A couple of us made it to the college career, and then, a couple more made it to the pro. For Chris, like, looking at some of those players either that you play with at DeMatha or play with at Maryland that were, in your mind, maybe even better than you skillfully or anything like that didn't make it, where do you feel that there was a separation? I guess what I'm alluding to, was there anything like I just worked harder, or I had, one thing that led me to the path of the career? Because I think there was, a lot of us in the room that were like, man, at one point I was better than Chris, right? I was older than him or whatever. And then he just took it, to the next level.
I think that's a great question. Because I wonder all the time, there's a lot of people I grew up playing with or against who were definitely better than me, but maybe didn't make it, to the level where I'm at. And I don't think it's anything like I worked hard or anything like that, but I think a lot of the times when you make it to the professional level, it's a lot about just the situation, timing, and, a little bit of luck just going your way. Like for me, when I went to Maryland, I didn't even know if I would play. I thought I was going to have to maybe redshirt my freshman year, which the coach told me before I got there. But when I got there, due to a player being ineligible, that led me to start, and injuries led me to start, and things like that. So just a little bit of luck and timing along the way, I think, is what separated me. I was just in a perfect situation when I got to Maryland. And yeah, I don't think it's that I worked harder than anyone else. I think it's just more about timing, situation, a little bit of luck all coming together at the right time and the right way. I think that's kind of what the difference was.
Yeah, I can completely, agree to that. I mean, I think there was a lot of people that I played with in both, at the DeMatha club and, in college as well, that you kind of look at and you're like, how did you not make it, right? You were, 10 steps above everybody, and something happened along the way, whether it was luck and injury or, they just fell out of love with the game or the passion. And, the people that, in my mind, that stuck with it and just had that vision and that dream of, I'm going to make it. Normally those kids just did everything in their power. They did the extra stuff to get there.
So,
Great question, Brian. Go
Thanks,
to Mr. London, Jasmine London, class of 2010. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Hey everyone, it's good to see some faces I haven't seen in a while. If you guys don't know me, I was probably the most fit at DeMatha, I would say, on the team. So Chris,
somebody boom this guy. Somebody boom him.
Chris, my question to you is, how did you find the training level and fitness from DeMatha and then take it to the next step to Maryland and now at DC United? Is it a lot of stuff on your own? Has the training changed a lot? Just curious at the pro level and how you took it.
yeah, for sure. There's a big adjustment period for me every level I jumped up to. So when I left DeMatha and got to Maryland, it was a big adjustment for me. Just the physicality of everyone. You're playing with real men now. Me, I have a slight frame, so it took a while for me to get adjusted to that, for sure. And then just the speed of the game, it just jumps every level you go up. But there's always an adjustment period. It's just how fast you can and how quickly you can adjust to it. I think it's what sets people apart. And then going from Maryland to DC United, obviously that was a big jump for me as well. And it took me quite a bit of time to really get adjusted to this professional level. And I was dealing with injuries and things like that too, which made it a little bit harder when I first started. But there's definitely big levels when you go each time up. And in terms, I think you asked of the fitness. Was that another question you asked about?
Yeah, we'll sure throw it in there.
Yeah, fitness wise, I probably wasn't the most fit at DeMatha. I mean, I was fast, but in terms of my stamina and being able to continue at a high level throughout the whole game, I probably wasn't my best at that. And it also changed with the positioning. At Maryland, my first 2 years, I was center back, so I didn't have to be too fit. But when I changed to right back, where you had to be like really the most fit guy on the team when you're going up and down that sideline all game, that was a big adjustment for me as well. And then obviously at the professional level, that jumps up another level. But yeah, going up each level, it takes a time to adjust. And like I said, depending on how quickly you could adjust, what makes the real difference.
Cool. And yeah, I just wanted to say too, we're all proud of you and keep up the good work, man.
I appreciate it, man. Love.
So Chris, are you beating Nick Haley in the Lake Run? And not right now, but Lake Run prime Nick Haley versus Chris.
I was just gonna bring that up.
The Lake Run was not for me, man. Nick Haley.
Yeah, Nick. I think Nick Haley did the Lake Run in about a minute and a half. Man, he had three lungs. Man, it was ridiculous. We'll a couple more questions, Chris, and then we'll let you go. I think next one from Coach Daryl. Go ahead, Daryl. Daryl, you're on mute. Oh, there you go. Okay.
I'm off now?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. So I know we've been in touch, obviously, throughout your career. But I know coming from the championship game at DeMatha your senior year, where you had the high ankle sprain and continued to try and play through that. And then what most people don't know, you probably dealt with like some compartment syndrome at Maryland leading into DC United in your rookie season. And then you dealt with the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from, late part of 18 into 19. And then you finally had last year, I would say, your first healthy season. Prior to that, did you ever have any type of doubt set in where you're like, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I just might need to take my degree and start a new career?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely had a period of that. That was probably the pre-diagnosis period where I was doing the testing and stuff and nothing was coming up. But it just seemed like nothing was going my way. Like I said, I was always feeling out of shape. And at that point, it was getting towards the end of the season. So I was like, I'm not going through this again. If I don't figure out what's wrong with me, I'm ready to retire and move on to something else because I can't continue to play like this. I'm having zero fun with what I'm doing right now. So it's just not worth it. And then eventually I did get a diagnosis, but you have to deal with the injuries and the hits along the way. Even when I got back from my Hodgkin's lymphoma and was playing games, I picked up 2 muscle injuries, probably just because my body wasn't ready for that workload after being out for so long. So, like you said, last year was my first year. I was pretty much healthy throughout the whole season and was available and playing. So just want to kind of continue that going into this year. But yeah, I've dealt with quite a bit of injuries and unfortunate circumstances, as most athletes do in their careers. And it's just about how you handle it and staying positive and believing that you'll get through it and get back to your top level.
Thanks, Coach D. Couple more. We'll go 2 more. Daniel Tavares, if you want to unmute your mic and ask Chris a question.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody. I just wanted to start by thanking you first for taking on that role model role. My daughter was diagnosed with cancer as a 1-year-old, so she's doing well now, had surgery, but that's an important role and it's a difficult one. So thanks for stepping up like Eric Berry and James Conner did for you. So thank you for that. My question is that you had mentioned some of the challenges really we've all faced over the past year or two. what would you like to see change? What changes would you like to see going forward for soccer, either at the pro level or the amateur side, to help grow the game?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, so you mentioned a number of challenges that we've seen over the past year or so. I'm just curious to learn if there's anything that you would like to see change in the game, either at the pro level or the youth level, to help grow the game.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm glad to hear about your daughter doing better.
Thank you.
In terms of growing the game, I think it just starts at the level of training you get at a young age. That makes all the difference. And I played on a local buoy team up until I think 7th grade is when I moved on to Bethesda. But yeah, those years growing up playing on that buoy team, the training just wasn't at the level that it should have been. And me and some of my friends, we talk all the time. Wes Suggs, who you guys know, Bill Kerr, Jonathan Ware, we all played on that buoy team together, and we always realized that if we had joined Bethesda at an earlier time, you know, we would have been so much better in our careers, you know. And coaches have told us that, like, Wes would have been a national team player had he gotten that better training at a younger age, and we always felt like that. So I think it's just access to that, to those types of training. You know, I think it's definitely getting better with the academy. And you see most of these MLS academies, they offer free, you know, free access to the game. You know, I think that's big because, you know, not a lot of people have the ability to go train and play for Bethesda, which costed quite a bit of money at the time. Thankfully, my parents were able to provide that for me, and also the transportation. But I think it's just access, you know. In Bowie, there's one good training facility there. Pretty much in PG County, there's not a lot, and there's a lot of talent in this area, as you guys know. So it's just, I think it's access. I would say in our area, just giving access and top training. You know, I was with Tommy a couple of weeks ago and seeing how his club trained, and I was like, wow, this is way better than what I was doing at that age, I felt like. And so I just can already see the level growing at a younger age and in this area. And, you know, I think if it continues that way, we'll be in a good position.
Thank you, Daniel. So last question, and then I'll turn it over to Coach Daff from Dan Murphy. Dan, if you want to unmute your mic.
Yeah, Chris, how are you, man? I think I'm the oldest DeMatha alum here, class of '99. You know, my younger brother was a goalkeeper at DeMatha also. You know, we grew up in PG, played for Clinton Boys and Girls Club in Fort Washington. And, you know, I mean, there wasn't a lot of organized soccer opportunities. I still coach in the game. And like you mentioned, there's a lot of talent in PG County. So have you ever thought about, you know, after your career, getting more involved with helping to bridge that gap? And getting more kids involved, or what do you think we could do to get, you know, more kids involved in the game, especially in the local PG County areas for the kids that just, you know, need the opportunities?
Sure, that's a great question. And that's something that I don't think I want to wait until my career is over to kind of address. You know, that's something that, especially this past year, I want to help in some way now, starting now while I'm a professional. I think I have, you know, the ability to do that, especially, you know, playing for DC United, the hometown team. So I don't have anything too specific now of what I will do, but I know that's something that I want to do because I know there's so much talent here, and it's just access to top level training, top coaches. It's just not always been there, especially for me growing up. It just wasn't there. I had to go to Montgomery County to get it. So I don't know exactly what that looks like, but that's something that I definitely do want to get involved in. And I think it's very possible. I know the DC Academy, you know, they're getting a lot of their top talent from PG. And it might get harder because right now they're taking their training facility out to Loudoun County. And,
Yep.
you know, that's hard
Yeah, it's real hard.
for a parent to take their kid all the way to Loudoun County for practice.
Yeah.
So, it's just working on things like that and fixing those type of things, because the talent's here in PG. As most of you guys are from PG and have seen people play at the top level from PG County, myself, Ja'Cory, Kyle Beckerman from PG County. So, there's always talent here, but like you said, the access might not always be there.
Hopefully you guys can help get some more people involved, man. You got a platform, so hopefully so.
For sure.
So real quick, before we get to Daff, Chris, I'm curious about this, and I promise last one, and we'll get to Daff. Is there like maybe someone you idolized growing up that you've defended, in the pros, like maybe someone that's like the most difficult person to defend in your pro career, maybe someone you idolized, and I don't know if you're like starstruck maybe when you saw him on the field, but is there like one person or two people that kind of stand out?
In terms of people I played against, I would say the biggest name is Schweinsteiger, Bastian Schweinsteiger. He was on Chicago Fire. I played against him a couple of times. But the biggest name was someone I played with, actually, which is Wayne Rooney. I was starstruck when I met him. I grew up a big Manchester United fan. Like, I used to have Cristiano Ronaldo fathead on my wall growing up. So Cristiano was my favorite, but Wayne was my second favorite player. And, just being able to play with him for a year and a half, that was great. And also just seeing the type of person he was as well, it was great to see, his first week there, he's walking around the whole locker room trying to get to know everybody on the team, look, everybody from the 17-year-old rookie to anyone else, and it just showed the person he was and how he kind of changed our club, as we were last place in our conference at the time when he came. And by the time the season ended, we were third in the East and hosted a playoff game. So, I love Wayne. He's a funny guy. I'll tell one story of one practice I had with him. I had a pretty good practice, and I remember I think I had one cross to him and he scored a goal. Another cross he just missed or whatever. But I remember him coming to me after practice. I was like, "Oh, you're looking like Chris Odoi-Beckham out there." Like, I just thought that was like the coolest thing, for him to compare me to, a legend of the game. But he's a real funny guy, real great guy, and he's gone now. But it was a great experience playing with him for a year and a half.
That's awesome. Yeah, that must have been nuts. I think O'Connor thought you were going to say him was probably the most difficult person to play against, but I think Wayne Rooney might be a little bit better than you, OC. Not sure though. So just kind of wanted to end with Coach Daff here, kind of talking before you got on, Chris, but I know, Coach, you probably have many memories of Chris, many great memories of Chris at DeMatha, but maybe if you could maybe speak about a memory or two that stick out to you during Chris's time here at DeMatha.
Yeah, it was hard when you mentioned that, Ben. Same as what Chris said. There's so many memories over the 4 years, but just a couple of one. And I think one of them actually, Big Daryl mentioned, regarding that final game for DeMatha in the championship. That kind of stands out. So it was almost where it was a disappointing result maybe that evening, but just to see what we saw from Chris that evening was, well, for me, just made things concrete where he would end up. To see him that injured that night, and we had an incredibly young team that tried to do another championship, another repeat that evening, and it was a very, very young team, and Chris was one of the few leaders that we had. But and that injury that he had, that high sprain, was probably really early in the game, and probably any other scenario, that player or any other player comes off the field and can't continue, but his will towards the program, DeMatha, teammates, staff, and just self-pride and determination was epic to watch. And obviously didn't hold a trophy that night, but the triumph he kind of showed in that attitude again showed humongous resilience, determination that that sees us look at Chris now of beating cancer and having that career. I think lessons were, or you could see that evening what happened to his career, and and how we managed it. And the other moment is probably a successful team moment, and it's been mentioned again, was out in St. Louis, and that was a really really good experience, I guess, for the program, and I think an experience we'd waited a few years for. I'm not big on statistics, etc., but I've no idea what it was, but we hadn't lost for 60, 70 games over a few years, and from what I remember, I think Sacramento had an even longer streak going into that, maybe 80, 90 games, whatever it was. So the politics involved building up to that was difficult. We were trying to get them to play us, and they wouldn't come to DeMatha, they wouldn't host us, but I do remember them agreeing to meet us halfway in St. Louis, and it was all a bit strange. And I think it was a 2-game weekend, and both Sacramento and us won comfortably on a Thursday or a Friday, whatever it was, and then we had to play this other game. So obviously I liked that format because I had a chance to watch them with Tommy, with OC on whatever night it was, Thursday or Friday, and they were littered with talent, as we were, Division 1 and pro prospects. And I remember them having a really, really good fullback, and I think he was a LA Galaxy kid or whatever, and I think they were telling us he'd committed to Division 1, whatever school it was, UCLA, whatever, when he was a sophomore, and this kid was fast, quick, and incredibly talented. So we used Chris as an advanced player back then, as a winger, as a striker, and with his pace. And I obviously knew that whatever side we'd play Chris, they would put this wonder California kid on the same side, with that kid being so quick. And I just remember that evening us being so dominant in open play and so dynamic. And when we talk about it, you talk about quick, and then there's quick, and then there's Chris, and this kid just couldn't live with Chris in open play as we played, as we countered and broke, and it was just incredible to watch. Just little things like that, really. But it comes back to, I think, you remember things because of the person he is. It's wonderful to reminisce about good football and good footballers, but I think what we kind of summarize from all this again is, just a remarkable person. Just little things like that just separate people, and that's what Chris did.
That's great. Thank you, Coach, for those memories. And thank you, Chris. I think that's going to conclude our afternoon. Thank you to everyone, obviously, for your terrific questions. To Chris, for taking time out of your day. I know you're super busy. Coach Daff, always a pleasure. Good talking to you. Good seeing you.
I had to get the DeMatha hat. It's probably the only DeMatha thing it's the only DeMatha thing that fits me these days is actually the hat. So I had to get it out.
But just wanted to say, Chris, good luck to you, man, on the upcoming season. We're rooting for you. Try to watch all the DC United games as well. But keep making DeMatha proud. If you ever nearby campus, if you want to stop by, we'd love to take you out to lunch or just say hello, man. It's been a real pleasure. But just wanted to thank everyone. Coach, thanks. Until then, everyone, thank you so much, and stay safe and go Stags. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Hey, good seeing everybody, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
And
hope we can all get together soon.
Yeah, this is recorded too, so we're gonna upload it on Facebook as well. I'll send it to you guys too if you want.
Well done.
Right.
Kept out
Thanks,
the
guys.
stories, man.
Take care. Stay safe.
Good seeing everyone.
Right,
See you
see
guys.
ya.
Guys, take care.